Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. Today I'm going to be talking about a strategy that used to be absolutely insane back in the day, but recently just completely fell off due to several reasons. These reasons include balance changes and nerfs. It includes players becoming better at the game in general. It includes maps being different, the meta being slightly faster, and players coming up with better strategies to handle the situation. The strategy I'm talking about is the drush fast castle into crossbows. This strategy used to be absolutely everywhere. However, over recent years, it kind of dipped in popularity to the point where now I would consider it almost suicidal to go for the strategy. It is borderline unplayable in today's standard of competitive Age of Empires 2. The setting we're going to be talking about is 1v1 Arabia because that's the setting that this strategy has always been common in. Keep in mind the strat was insanely good back then, not only popular but also yielded incredible results and was thought to be pretty much the best strategy for several reasons. However, over time, things completely changed. In this video, I'm going to talk about why it was so good before, what changed, and where it's at right now in terms of a strategical perspective. And hopefully you find this video interesting, and if you're still doing the strategy, hopefully I'll convince you to stop using it. It's just really not worth it these days. Before I start though, I'm going to quickly tell you guys to like the video if you guys can. Please, helps a lot. Also, I wasn't going to record a video today, but we're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. We're almost there. And so I'm not going to take a day off until we get there because that's how I'm rolling. And who knows, I actually really enjoy doing YouTube. So maybe even after we hit 100,000 subscribers, I'll continue with the daily videos because I'm actually just loving it. Anyways, enough of my personal life, no one cares. Let's talk about some drush fast castle. Before, a swig of water. Gotta stay hydrated, talk about AoE, of course. So yeah, first of all, let's talk about what made the strategy so strong in the first place. For those who don't know who joined us recently, drush fast castle has been a very prominent strategy for years. We're talking like 6 to 10, maybe even longer. I've only been playing competitive for 10 years, and it's been very, very popular since I started. The idea behind it was that your drush acts as the first punch, the initiative in the Dark Age. You make 3 militia, you attack your opponent with those and the scout. The militia were pretty annoying to deal with, and they kind of gave you some scouting, some initiative, and some pressure on the map. This allowed you to wall up your base and then go towards Castle Age. And then in Castle Age, we went for the natural unit, the crossbow. And the crossbow pretty much beat every single unit in Feudal Age, and also held its own very nicely in Castle Age once you masked it up. Not only that, but the crossbow was considered to be a relatively cheap unit, so you can still afford to make your economy and get your economy upgrades while creating this unit. So it was not an all-in strategy, and it wasn't something that you have to sacrifice everything to get into. However, things changed, and even though the gist of the strategy remains the same, there have been 2 major balance changes that made the drush FC not so good in today's meta, purely from a numbers perspective. So the first thing that changed in terms of balance nerfs has been the walls in Dark Age. Before, the wall always had 250 HP. That's what a Palisade wall gave you. However, in a recent patch, I think a couple of years ago at this point, the walls became weaker in the Dark Age, now only giving you 150 HP. This is a big deal because even if you're fully walled right now and you're trying to wait till Castle Age, your walls don't hold up as well against something like a meta arm rush or a meta arm into archers, a very aggressive opening. And so if your opponent is expecting you to go for a drush fast castle, he can easily prepare a really solid aggressive counterattack, and you can't really stop it because the walls aren't enough to buy as much time. You could pull it off, but it's just a lot riskier these days. And it's why the drush fast castle can never be like the go-to strat, because right away there's a great counter strat to break through your walls and, force you to stay in Feudal Age, prevent you from getting to the Castle Age. The next major change, the second change on the list here in terms of nerfs, is the Expo price increase. This was a great change overall for the health of the game. However, the increase in price for the Expo upgrade by only 100 resources, so 50 food and 50 gold, affects the drush fast castle the absolute most. For those who don't know, they raised the price of Expo by 100 food, or 100 res total, and then the price of Arbalest by 200 res. This was meant to make Expo and Arbalest more expensive to kind of create a healthy balance between the Expo line or the Archer line and other options in the game. The Expo line was seeing way too much play, especially in team games. People were going up like Fast Imp, sending all their economy to get Arbalest, and that's it. They just spam Arbalest for the whole game, and it was very degenerate. It was not a healthy, strategic gameplay. However, this nerf hurt archer play in general, but absolutely destroyed drush fast castle play, because when you go up to castle age really fast, you don't have a lot of spare resources, and so all of a sudden needing 100 extra resources to afford the upgrade that makes your fast castle worth it in the first place, the crossbow tech, that is a really big demand, and 100 resources are not easy to come by when your economy is so fragile. You only hit castle age with like 31 vills, and that's really not enough to afford crossbow and villager production and bodkin or bowsaw or these other crucial upgrades. And so purely from a numbers perspective, it is a lot harder to achieve what the strategy is built to achieve. So combining that with the wall change, you can see how it's a lot riskier and a lot harder to pull the strategy off. However, this is not the only thing that's preventing Drush Fast Castle from seeing play in today's meta. There have been several other changes that have nothing to do with the nerfs. Starting things off, let's talk about some indirect changes in players and the map that forced people away from the Drush Fast Castle strategy completely naturally. So the first one is the fact that people are now upping a lot faster to the feudal age. This is a really big deal because before, if you'd want to go for the Drush Fast Castle, you'd kind of bank on your militia buying you time, your opponent hitting feudal age, a little earlier than you, but, just by like a couple minutes, your militia can buy yourself time, and boom, you're walled in up to castle age, and life is good. These days, people are hitting some insane feudal age times, like 18 pop, 19 pop on the regular with any civ, right? And that makes it a lot harder. Why? They get the scout that has +2 attack and faster movement speed with more line of sight. They get that right away. So they can actually find figure out the fact that you're going for the FC. They can use the scout to hit the militia or to go ahead and chase your scout around and just use that as an overall defensive unit. They can also create a spear right away to help defend against your militia a lot earlier because they're upping so fast. And then most importantly, they can start massing units in the feudal age, like archers or scouts, to launch that counterattack a lot earlier. They can also have more time in the feudal age to mass more of that army so that when they do eventually hit you, they hit you extremely hard and they can break the wall that you have. It's not going to be the most sturdy wall anyways. This is a really big fundamental change in general for 1v1 Arabia, and the faster upping kind of shaped how we play in general. We are now very concerned about getting to the feudal age as quickly as possible, and only then do we worry about walling up our map. The walls in Dark Age lost a lot of popularity over the last couple of years. This in particular hurts the Drush Fast Castle because that is the one strategy that we rely on, or that we rely the most on our early game walls. If we're not walled, there's no way we survive the castle age in most cases, right? It's simply impossible to hold scouts and archers, or a mix of the two, if you only have villas and no walls to defend yourself. And so, because of people upping really fast, we don't have that same harmony in terms of militia buying ourselves time until our castle age that we had once upon a time. And so that's a really big deterrent from going for the strategy. Another thing that hurt the strategy is the fact that maps are being made more open and more hilly. This is not in general, like there were some Arabia gens way back in the day, like 6-7 years ago, that were very open, and those Drush Fast Castle weren't great on. However, when DE first came out, the definitive edition, the Arabias were rather close. Like most of them were easy to wall. It was like, sometimes you get really big wood lines, and so the natural strat was just full wall in Dark Age and just go for the fast castle. In Feudal Age, there was just not much you can really accomplish. And so in general, maps being made more open have made it more difficult to full wall, and that was of course a key part of the Drush Fast Castle, and so now we just lost that opportunity as well. So it's not looking great for the Drush Fast Castle, guys, let me tell you that. Another change in favor of the Drush Fast Castle being, worse is the fact that, sorry, I lost my train of thought, is the fact that people got used to dealing with militia in ways that we never really saw before. And the main thing that became popular in the last 3-4 years is the fact that you can small wall your woodlines and your berries and even your gold, and you can be completely safe from militia. Before we thought like, okay, we have to fight the militia with our vills, make army, defend them somehow, they'd buy time. Now, with just 2-3 walls on our woodline, and we're completely safe from the militia. We don't have to fight them, we don't have to invest too many resources on walling, we keep our vills safe immediately, and we go straight for the counterattack. So combine this with the fact that people are upping to feudal age really fast. We now have a guy that's basically on crack, upping at 9 minutes in feudal age. He goes for a stable or an archery range right away. He doesn't care about your militia because he's just gonna few palisade walls, keep all his vills safe, and then all of a sudden he's counterattacking you. If you're the lucky one and you manage to full wall your base, your walls only have 150 HP. If you're unlucky, you don't wall your base, you're basically dead on the spot. And so we haven't even got to the castle age, and there's just so many things that could and will go wrong with the strategy. It's simply so hard to make it work. And then, of course, the first thing that I mentioned is the fact that the expo upgrade became more expensive. So combining all of these things, of it being really hard to get to the castle age, your militia doing nothing. Once you get to the castle age, you can't afford what you want to do anyway. So it's just literally doesn't work anymore. And I don't know if it's sad or not, because I personally hated the drush fast castle. I thought it was an annoying strategy to deal with. And so I'm kind of happy to see it out of the meta and pretty obsolete at this point. But as you can see, there have been a ton of things stacked against it. And it is just very hard to make that strategy work in today's meta. Last thing I'll talk about when it comes to Drush FC back in the day, I used to believe that it was the only strategy that you can use to gain a significant advantage without killing any of your opponent's units. By fully walling and getting to crossbows, you not only got a safe unit on the field that can gain the map and put pressure on your opponents, but you also got a significant economy lead on your opponent. You'd add TCs faster, you'd get bow saw faster. A lot of things worked in favor of just the drush fast castle player, even if he doesn't find any damage. And it's for that reason that we saw a lot of drush fast castles in the early DE days, in a lot of the tournaments, Arabia's, Golden Pits, etc. And nowadays you never see it on the ladder. So what should you do if not the drush fast castle? If you want to play the crossbows, you want to do the fast feudal uptime, go for one range archers, then wall your base, and then play towards castle age. It's kind of like the modern version of a fast castle crossbows, but it doesn't quite feel the exact same as the classic strategy that we were once used to. I will touch on the fact that fast castles still exist in today's meta. It's not like fast castle doesn't work anymore. It's specifically the drush fast castle that has completely failed, and specifically the one that goes into crossbows. That being said, drush fast castle doesn't lead to anything else. If you're going to make the barracks and make the militia, it can't really lead to like knights, because you're going to delay yourself, get to castle age, you're going to be walling or trying to hold, you're going to be under pressure naturally, and then you're going to go for knights. They're too expensive of a unit to just justify making from 1 or 2 stables, and you're not going to get a critical mass of knights before your opponent is castle age himself. Also, if you go drush fast castle knights, your opponent can just full wall, and you'll never really break in anyways. So even if he doesn't counterattack and do damage, the knights are kind of useless. So the only thing that really works with a drush fast castle is the Huang rush, or something along the lines of an all-in play. You go for a drush, then you go for some stables, into siege workshop, into monastery, and you completely forego your economy. However, even with this strategy, it's probably better to do it without the drush. You just go up to the castle age, wall up early, and just go for a market and blacksmith and get up that way. This makes it so in castle age you can go for a siege and monk push, you can go for knights, you can go for just a boom if you want to. It keeps you a lot more flexible, and so if you have a good map and you want to go for a fast castle, this approach is much better. And so as you can see, no matter where we look, there's literally just a better strategy at every corner compared to the drush fast castle. It's not a strategy that can ever work, especially into crossbows, and it's the reason why we don't see it amongst any pro player these days. If you're still doing it on the ladder and you're having fun with it, you're having success, by all means go ahead, but just know that your strategy is complete garbage right now and will get punished sooner rather than later. So I highly recommend you move on to something else when you have the time and when you feel like changing up your strategy. Again, it's not something that can never work, but I would say it's like 99% of the time. So 99 games out of 100. If I have an archer civ, I'm not going to go for that, and I'm going to go for something completely different. I just realized this game was way longer than me talking, so I'm going to go ahead and fast forward the rest of it without view lock so you guys can enjoy it. And this is extremely unprofessional, but again, I just wanted to get a video out today, so I hope you guys can appreciate the efforts. This game is actually really sick though, so let's see how it ends. And as you can see in this game, actually, there was basically no just fast castle. We both went for fast feudal, walled up, and that's kind of the best strategy right now on Arabia, to be honest. Anyways, he's got some Vietnamese, so he's going to put a lot of pressure on me. With some knights, and I'm defending with CA for now. Just trying to survive. He's going to go for Husk Scrolls, put the pressure, more forward castles, all the good stuff. But of course, I just made a video last year at this point, two years ago at this point actually, on how to defend forward castles. So naturally, I'm implementing the same tips I'm teaching you guys in my own games as well. I'm expanding defensive castle. I'm gonna go on the way to imp. I didn't even have the text showing. What the hell? I'm so bad. Terrible, terrible caster. Caster on the left-hand side. At this point, he's really just desperate, trying to raid me. But I'm imp and I'm tripping him down now, so feeling pretty good about it. And then some towers going down for him. Nothing too crazy though. Oh man, sends in the pikes, doesn't get the traps. That was a brutal fight for him. Not very good. Nice. Vietnamese cavalries are sick, by the way. Vietnamese in general are insane right now. I think he does a good job stabilizing his weapon, if I recall correctly. Into towers. Oh, he lost a lot of halves there. Yeah, he will win this fight though. I think it was okay actually. Yeah, well, it was actually good. I actually won the fight. Kept my monks a lot too. And from here, I just raid him. I think I lost the castles with the trap. It's at 2600 plays. And yeah, we should be almost done right now. I'm just kind of finishing him off at this point. I have the perfect composition. I'm raiding him to death as well. Light cav just freely going in. It's kind of the weakness of Goths. Like, we're talking about Goth late game, but even if they get the late game, if you have the right comp, you just completely outmaneuver them anyways. But anyways, Goths are not bad or anything. They're actually pretty decent right now, but yeah, I just managed to win this game. It was a really fun one though. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It was, again, not the highest production quality, but hopefully it's still interesting to listen to. And yeah, rip the Drush FC. Hopefully it's not being missed, not by me, that's for sure. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. Like the video, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. See ya.